Joining us from the center is Kyle Neubeck right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. And Kyle, they stopped the skid and they needed it from their backcourt, dropping 56 points and nailing also 9 threes overall. They were phenomenal tonight.
Fellas, our long national nightmare is over. They finally got a victory. Yeah, I mean, so a couple of things jumped out to me from those two other than, the obvious stuff. I think the fact that Jared McCain is already being asked to essentially carry lineups by himself is such a crazy concept. The only thing that's crazier is that he's actually doing it, right? He's being put on the floor with like Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond, name a wing, and maybe like KJ Martin, and he's somehow leading the offense and controlling the game on that end of the floor, which is just mind-boggling. One big thing with Maxey tonight, other than the fact that he finally made some shots, which sure was a nice lift off of his shoulders, had like I think 3 or 4 steals in that game, right? And really dug in on defense in a way that we have not seen from him consistently, certainly this year. And I think you could see just how much this game meant to him, certainly that he knew they needed this one. Every opportunity that he had to like play was made and he could like fire up a teammate, fire up the crowd, things like that. He was screaming, yelling, gesturing, whatever it was. And so I think he, after a pretty poor performance the other night, first game back, he came out with a point to prove tonight, and it was nice to see him do that on both ends of the floor.
Kyle, I have a question about McCain, but I want to get to this one as it's on the top of my head. Is Caleb Martin okay? That was painful to watch him run up and down the court.
I mean, I guess that depends on, lights are going out in Georgia tonight. So, yeah, there were several trips back to the locker room for him. And I think we know he's been dealing with some form of a shoulder issue, at least. I saw him back on the exercise bike back behind the bench at some point during the game. So I'm not exactly sure what that was about, if that was maybe more of a lower body or a back type thing to stay loose. But yeah, I mean, he looked completely out of sorts. We didn't end up talking to him in the locker room tonight after the game. But I think from what we've heard or seen from him, he doesn't want to verbalize that he's dealing with any problems, but is going as far as he can to be like, I'm playing through stuff right now, and that's just kind of the reality I got to deal with. By the way, I was joined up here by a friend who is out of sight. He's got to crowd in with me a little bit if he wants to get in the shot. Oh
wow.
Look, see, we do like each other.
We need to screenshot that, Bree.
Yeah.
Honestly, Caleb Martin, I'm pretty impressed he's playing through that. It just looked very painful watching him grab his back, running back on the floor. I guess I'll ask a question for Derek because he's here. Derek, what has been the most impressive thing about Jared McCain to you?
I mean, in all honesty, it's just the poise that he plays with. Like he can be trapped on the perimeter. They can throw hard hedges at him. He just does not seem to get flustered. He has, if not a counter for everything they throw at him, at the very least, he doesn't make mistakes for what they throw at him. And for a 20-year-old rookie who came into, the season with some very obvious athletic limitations and having to overcome that, he's just overcome that so much quicker than I think I would have expected. That mid-range game, which I feel like 2 weeks ago, we listed as absolutely vital. It seems like he is completely comfortable with that. He's finishing better around the rim. He's just adjusting so quickly that it really is impressive to watch. And it's such an incredible jump in competition for a rookie and a young guy to make. And he's just handling. And look, at some point, those perimeter shots, he's going to go through a slump. Those mid-rangers aren't going to fall, and he's going to have to find an adjustment there. But he's just had an adjustment for everything so far. It's really impressive.
So, Kyle, I'm going to read a tweet for you that you had earlier tonight. And by the way, we have not brought this up. We've been very positive tonight because that was an amazing fourth quarter, and we've kind of stuck the elephant in the room. Here
comes negative Neubeck. Woo! Let's go.
So, Kyle, I'm reading your tweet here. Today's timeline. Embiid questionable at morning shoot-around. Will warm up to see if he can play per Nick Nurse at 5:15 p.m. At 6:30 p.m., no appearance during warmups, ruled out roughly a half hour before the game. And then at 8:21, not just ruled out for this game, ruled out for Sunday's game with swelling in his knee. On brand for how the season has gone so far, I guess?
Yeah, so I think Derek and I will probably have to do a little bit of extra digging on the sequence of events and what all took place, because we didn't see Joel Embiid at all. And Nick Nurse had said at 5:15, as you mentioned, yeah, he's going to warm it up with a chance to play. Now, I posted a video tonight on Twitter from Nick Nurse after the game where we got what sounded like a spin zone version of that sequence of events, right? And so I don't know. I'll say this. I think there's swelling in the knee. Like, I think there's a knee issue. And I would also say that not seeing Joel Embiid at all from 5:15 until tip and not seeing him on the sideline at all is worth a little bit more investigating into whether he was here, how long he was here for, etc. Because the messaging and the actions from the team, where Rich and Devon, you both know the ball boys, the staffers, like someone like Reg and some of the other player dev guys who are out there for those warm-ups, they're out there as if like, hey, it's time for Joel to go at the 45-minute mark before the game, and then just nothing. And then it was like, oh yeah, we knew shortly after Nick talked, shortly after I talked, I should say, Nick said, we knew he wasn't going to play. And it was like, that's not really passing the smell test. So, I mean, I think bottom line is it's a huge concern that after playing 2 games, neither which are back-to-back this week, he's dealing with swelling to a point that he can't play in at least 2 consecutive games 3 days apart, right? Like, that is alarming at this stage of the season, considering he missed the first couple weeks of the year, considering what the plan is for the full season and having to get him to the finish line and through the playoffs, not just healthy, but like healthy and ultra productive at a level he's never been. So yeah, I'm sounding some alarm bells. We're going to have to do some looking into how everything transpired tonight. But bottom line is this is not good. And Derek, do you have any color you want to add to that on your end?
Well, I mean, look, I broadly agree with Kyle in that it's not good. That certainly I think there is swelling, but that it doesn't completely, the actions don't completely line up with what was said. I do want to say I'm happy they're finally admitting that there's swelling, because for so long it's just been like, oh, this is part of the plan. Oh, we're being cautious. Oh, this is the ramp up period, yada, yada, yada. And fans just don't buy it. And we said for weeks, all right, look, here's what happened. But clearly something had to have happened. There has to be some kind of, either setback or swelling or just something to make them concerned besides just the fact that they're trying to be cautious. And finally, for the first time, they really admitted, yes, there is swelling. The swelling is preventing him from playing. Is this something to be happy about? No, you don't want there to be swelling in your star player's knee, especially after he's had 2 meniscus surgeries. But at least they've stopped telling you that it's raining while they're pissing on you, which is a step forward in the right direction.
And so now that we have that answer for at least the next game and maybe even going forward, Yabusele gets to start again tonight. Andre Drummond comes off the bench. And Yabusele was okay. And Drummond was also okay. But are you guys, Kyle, start with you. Are you fine with this being the starting 5, if you will, until both Embiid and George come back, where Yabusele is the man in the middle?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they really have a choice. I do think what we've seen is that while Drummond hasn't been good as the backup, or I guess as advertised, he has at least been a little better in that more specific 15 to 20 minute type role off the bench against backup units. And the offense also flows better with Yabusele on the floor in almost any context, but definitely with him at the 5, and with as bad as they've been on offense, which is to say they've been the worst offense in the league basically all year and haven't been able to hit shots. I think you got to put the guy on the floor who can help open things up, especially when, look, right now it's going to have to be Jared McCain and Maxey carrying the team. And the more you can do to make their lives easier, look, as good as they have been, and they have both been they both were excellent tonight. Jared has been just on a completely different level as a rookie than any of us could have expected. They are still, although they challenged this tonight, small guards. They're guys that need space to operate in. They got to be able to attack the paint without, bodies being multiple bodies being in front of them at any given time. So it's the route I would go. Whether Nurse decides to continue to start Yabusele or not, I'm not sure, but does look like he's leaning that way right now.
And I just
good
want
about
to say
Nurse tonight. Yeah.
I just want to say, because they got a little upset when they were called small guards, and Maxey and McCain were doing the post game together. And luckily, Maxey, the question was asked by Pompey because he said, well, I'm taller than you, but if he had pointed at Kyle, I'm not sure those two passed the Kyle Neubeck height test. So it's a good thing that Pomp asked that question, not somebody else.
What did you
I almost was like, hey, you want to go back to back to the old schoolyard?
Absolutely, yeah. Real fast before we let you guys go, what did you make of, and Rich and I discussed this, Nick Nurse tonight? We've gotten on him about things. What did you make of him tonight? His rotations, his substitutions. Ricky got some early run. Reggie Jackson did play. What did you make of his coaching tonight?
Yeah, I mean, better. I think it looks better when your two best players on the night score 56 points and in crunch time are, hit and pull up threes, right? When that happens, everybody looks smart. I do like that over the last two games, he's gone to Ricky, he's gone to KJ Martin. He said, we need some younger blood in there. Keep Jeff Doughton in Siberia. We'll go to Reggie Jackson, who I think has played a little bit better than him recently. I think if there's anything or a specific guy you'd say, why is he playing the role he's got? It's Eric Gordon, right? Who he had some good drives on and like drive and kick moments in the first half, but he just can't hit anything right now, right? And
he has some good looks too.
Yeah, he was getting some clean ones. I mean, when you're playing off of McCain and Maxey right now, it's not ultra difficult to get some good looks. So I think maybe you just say the law of averages will win out there, but it is real tough because I don't think he's given you much on the other end of the floor either. Nurse seems like he's going to stick it out and let him try to shoot through it a little bit. And I guess we'll ultimately see how that plays out. I wouldn't say I have a ton of belief in EG right now. But to your question, yes, I think it was a better game. And I think, frankly, the most important thing was just the team compete level, right? Like I think defensively, they were more connected and on a play-to-play basis. They just fought more. And Tyrese talked about it after the game tonight, right? Like you're going to face adversity. So what? You got to get up. You got to respond. You got to punch back. And so, I mean, we were getting to a point where you got to look around. And it's like, if you lose a couple more of these and you give away third quarters the way they have been, that question always comes up. Has the coach's voice just worn out on these guys? I think tonight was a good response, and that's important for the whole staff.
Oh man, I just saw this one pop up from Mike. He says, ask Kyle about when did the teammates find out about Embiid? Because sometimes they don't even know. When guys are in or when they're out. Oh really? Look at that!
Wow!
Look at that!
Bring him back.
Conversation was so good.
Oh,
hello.
wow.
I was just about to X out. So we didn't get a clear indication, but there was an interesting moment in the locker room. We're talking to Gershon, and I think he saved himself, but he was essentially asked, like, when did you know you were going to start? And he was like, oh, this morning. And then he goes, there was like a brief pause and that's when I had an idea I might start. And I was like, either good job by PR or, maybe it was just an incomplete thought. But we didn't really get a complete sense of when that was. So
Okay. All right.
I wish I had a better answer, Mike B and everybody else, but that's all we got.
We all silly like the mayor.